Okay, good evening. Right, so today we want to finish our quality assurance subject. Uh, so let me open your note. So we have few topics in quality assurance. Uh, the last three. Uh, so out of those, first we'll do the continuous integration. It's theoretical part. Sorry, not the theoretical part, practical part. Okay. Uh, so then we'll move on to the other topics as well. Okay. Uh, right. So continuous integration and continuous delivery. So there, I will give you the our note because I think our note is, I don't know whether it's there or not. Uh, right. I'll put it in the WhatsApp group. Okay. And also there's another note. I think these two notes are not in our Google Classroom. So let me copy it to your WhatsApp group. Okay. Right, I will put it into the WhatsApp group. Okay. I think these two notes are there, but maybe little bit I have done small modifications. Okay. One is on Jenkins. Other one is JIT. Right. Right. So just take it from there. I will upload it to the Google Classroom. Maybe I just want to do small changes further. Right. Uh, First I will. Right. So these are the PDF files. I will do little bit of these things and then we'll do the practical stuff. Okay, because you need to install software. Right, continuous integration and continuous delivery. So basically, continuous integration means, though this is related to QA, this is more related to build engineering and overall software development rather than QA. But QA people must also know about these things because they will get a better understanding about how the things are happening, how the things are done by the development team, the software engineers. So continuous integration means whenever we do our changes, especially in agile development, we don't want to keep the code too long. So whenever we because remember we have about 2 to 3 weeks of uh, sprints, 2 to 3 weeks of sprints. So maximum 3 week. So then there's a release, and that release ideally should be a potentially shippable production release, right? Potentially shippable that is production ready release. So that means fully implemented, fully tested release. So therefore, as software developers, when we do the changes, that means say you are working on a user story. So you need to continuously check in your code. Once it's stable, you check it, right? But test whatever you have done and then check it because maybe something related to that is done by another developer in the team. So he may need it in maybe tomorrow. So therefore, we don't keep it and say when the release is tomorrow. No, we don't check in day before tomorrow. So from day one of the sprint, whatever we develop, if it is stable, we check it. because that check-in doesn't go to the production server, that goes to your development build. So that is called continuous integration. Okay, continuous integration. So you keep checking your code to the build, development build. So then continuous delivery means, though we call it now this is sort of a daily or maybe hourly or maybe anytime we can integrate our changes to the build. But though we call it continuous delivery, this is usually small. Now remember, if you have small releases like every 3 weeks, there's a release. So we deliver it to the customer. It may go into the production server or may not go into production server. So that is called continuous delivery. For example, from Windows, so usually I get an update at least once a month, right? Some feature, big releases at least twice a year, feature updates. But most of the time, one update or sometimes two updates. So those are delivered to the customer. I'm a customer of Windows. Okay. So continuous integration, continuous delivery, CI/CD. Actually, though we call it CI/CD, it's first CD, sorry, yeah, CI/CD. First we integrate our code, then we deliver. But continuous integration is more frequent. Continuous delivery is maybe at the end of each sprint. Okay. To do continuous integration, we use version controlling system like Git. Okay. Version controlling system. For continuous delivery and build, we use some other software like, okay. So we will first look at uh, Git and then we'll look at other software for continuous delivery. Okay. Like Jenkins. So Jenkins is a continuous delivery support software. Git is continuous integration. So Git is not new to you because we have done Git in semester, I think semester 2 or 3 under web development. So therefore, just refresh that, okay, theoretical aspects. But I'm going to, I give that no, okay, I give that note also. But that is pretty much your semester. I can't remember whether it's semester 2 or 3. The same note, but I may have done small changes since you did yours that part in semester 3 or 4. Okay, right. So Git for continuous integration and Jenkins for continuous delivery. Okay. Actually, there are some other tools also. It's just part of that. Okay. Right. So here you are supposed to install and do basic operations with Git as a version controlling system and also set up Jenkins and do simple pipelining processes. Pipelining is part of delivery or build system engineering, build engineering. Okay. Right. So list of subtopics, introduction to CI/CD tools, setting up Jenkins pipelining process, introduction to version control system, that is set up Git and do basic stuff with Git. Okay. Right. So as I already mentioned, so these are two things highly related: continuous integration, continuous delivery or continuous deployment. Okay. So continuous integration is related to version controlling tools. Okay. So continuous delivery is set of tools actually, right? Set of tools. Out of those, we are going to only look at one aspect of the continuous delivery process. Right. So they have the same goal, but they involve in two different steps, okay, of automation. So the idea is make software development and release process fast and robust. Right. So in CI, we continuous integration, we let developers to push their code quickly to the version controlling system rather than keeping those. Okay, so that it included into the development builds. So if there are issues, then we can early detect. And also remember when you did do some changes or add some new code, you're supposed to write new unit test, right? If it is Java J unit test or in next gen in unit. Okay. And also when you do some changes to existing code, sometimes if you have not done proper testing, existing unit test may fail. So then at least you know very early that, right, I have break some functionalities, so I should fix it. So it's good to know good to know these early rather than late. Okay. And also other developers get your modified code so that they can work on top of that. Otherwise, there will be a lot of conflicting when everyone is trying to check in at the last moment because you also have changed that method, another developer has changed that method, and both are now going to check in the codes maybe when there's a release tomorrow. But if you did it in the first week and if you have already check in and the other guy worked on that in the second week or third week, now that guy got the latest code. So no conflicts. So it reduces the conflicts. Earlier you integrate your code, better for the team. Okay. And continuous delivery ensure that the reliable releases of the software. Right? Do it quick and fast, reliable manner, deployment and releases. And also we can automate the deployment process to the our development servers, QA servers, and later into the production servers. Okay. So therefore, first part is CI that involve Git repository. The second part is CD. So CD pipelining, CI pipelining, CD pipeline. Pipelining means set of sequential activities. So activities that we need to do in a sequential manner. Okay. Right. So these are some signs of good continuous integration. Right. Continuous integration that is related to the version control. Decouple the stages. Right. So that means we are in different stages like Q development stage, QA stage. So then we can have different tags in your repositories. Okay. Repositories. Repeatable. So that means we should be able to do it same thing more than once, repeatable, like auto, even we should be able to automate it, like checkout, right, and so on. Fail fast. So remember, yes, our task is make sure no failures, but we all humans, we can make mistakes. So then the best thing is fail fast because then we have enough time to fix it. So that is why we encourage development team members to continuously integrate the code. Of course, they must test it properly, but far if you get the failures quick and early, so that is somewhat better than you find it at the very last moment because you have enough time to fix it. Okay. So these are the signs of good continuous delivery, right? So these are the signs of good continuous integration: decouple stages, repeatable, fail fast, right? Signs of good continuous delivery. So designs with system in mind. So that means we must have idea about what is our end product and its features and different aspects of deployments, database side, middleware side, system integration sites, UI. Then do it as a pipeline, set of sequential activities so that we can subdivide into smaller tasks and we can make those smaller tasks working properly and then do it in a sequential manner. rather than you do it as a one big monster you build. And remember, we may give our releases to one customer or multiple customers. Sometimes we are giving the same release to multiple uh, cloud servers. So then we need to manage versions. Say this release is for customer A, say ERP system. So maybe same ERP system with some customization given to hundreds of customers. So then we need to manage. Sometimes when we fix a big major bug, so we need to fix that bug in each and every customer. But their code has changed. So we can do these things much easier when we have a good continuous delivery pipeline system. Okay. So who should know about this? Number one, obviously developers, because developers are the one who mostly involved in CI and CD process. QAs, they are a little bit passive because they are not involved in changing the code and so on, but they must know this process because they also get releases as part of this process. And they are the guys who verify these things so that it can go into the production. Because QA guys are in the middle, developers, QA, and then production. So developers have development built, and then QA releases are given to QA. When QA has approved that yes, testing is done and we are happy, so then we deliver it to the production. And obviously system administrators or the system engineers, because they are the ones who mainly involved in managing these things, especially in production environment. Right. So as I told you, these are not just one tools, set of tools. Sometimes you have alternatives, right? Either use this or that. Sometimes you need to use multiple tools, especially for CD type, right? CI also, yes, it's starting from your, say, if it is Java, Maven, and but that is more into the build process. Then unit testing frameworks, and then uh, repositories like GitHub and so on, okay, Git and so on. And CD process, again, you need multiple tools like Jenkins and so many other. Okay, right. So then your notes talk about setting up Jenkins, but I'm going to start from the other end because usually it is continuous integration and then continuous delivery. Right, your note, it's continuous delivery and then continuous integration. But I will do it in the other way uh, because that is a natural process. So let's start with continuous integration. Continuous integration. The other thing is the continuous delivery process note is not finished, right? So therefore we will just set up the server and stop it, okay? Because I first concentrated on the second part because that is how it naturally goes. So then I didn't get enough time to finish the note, okay? For the continuous delivery, okay? Right. So let's move on to the continuous integration part. This we can do it fully. Right? Continuous integration. So it's basically version control in systems so that developers can check in their code. Uh, okay. And if there are conflicting situations, merging and so on. So we call them version controlling systems, VCS. Okay, VCS. So in our discussion, we will be using Git. Anyway, Git is not new to you because we have discussed about Git in web development. Okay. Right. So what are the features of version controlling systems? So first of all, it keep your code in a central location. Okay. For your team, entire team, we have central location. So other team members working with that central code base, check in, check out. Right. So when they want to do some development, they take the code from that repository, uh, and then they do their changes in their local machines. And once the code is stable, tested, they can check into the repository. So then the other team members can time to time update the code from the repository so that they always have the latest. And they also need to check in their changes. So that reduced conflicts. So conflict is you also working on, say, X, there's a class called X and there's a method called Y. So you also do changes to the Y method, I also do the changes to the Y method. That is where the conflicts. And especially if that change is related to the same location or similar line. So you also change that while loop, I also change that while. So that is where the things can be complicated when we check in. So that is why best scenario is you do that change and you check in quickly. So before I do changes, I again get the latest code and do that. So then already your change is there. Then I do changes on top of that. That is safe. So that is the idea. That is the main reason why we use version controlling systems in software development, right? Prevent or reduce conflicts in the code. And also, we can record the increments, like each developer who check in need to give a comment saying what kind of change you did. Anyway, we can do a difference between two versions. There are tools available and see what is the change. Okay, so it maintains the change history. So for any file, we can see the history. Who has changed in each version and what is the change if that user has given a comment during when it's check-in. And of course, we can do comparison tools. Usually these tools have comparisons where we can see the difference between any two versions. Okay? And of course, it allows multiple developers to work parallelly. Why check-in, check-out is done in a regular manner. And if by any chance, if two developers has worked on same code, similar, right? Different changes, so these changes can be merged across the same files. Most of the time, automatically those are merged. But if there's a real conflicting situation, so then the tool will ask you to manually merge it. Tool will say, okay, I can't merge this. You guys need to discuss and manually merge it. That happens very rarely. Okay. And of course, answer who did it because there's a version history. So it gives more accountability. Right? Gives that make developers more responsible because you can't say no, it's not my mistake. If you make a mistake, either you accept it or anyway you are going to be identified by the team. So that make developers more responsible because you have no other option. And of course, we can make create tags. Tags are like releases, version 1.1, version 1.2. So at any time, if I want to get the version 1.1 code, I can check out. During the checkout, I can say I need this particular code, not the latest. Okay, maybe that release is given to a particular customer. So I need to do some customization on that release. So that is called tagging, right? So basically, each version, subversion is a tag, and there can be special reason to give tags as well. And we can create branches. Say we have been working on a software, say it's an inventory management system. So that is our main or master. So then we have given that software to a customer. So then we can create a branch of that, say customer A. Maybe later another while, so it's like something like this actually. We can see. So these are the check-in, check-out actually. Check-in, check-outs. It's not branching. Uh, And so I'll explain the branching process. So this is, say, the code is getting changed day by day. So tagging is basically at a particular time we can tag it, say version 1, tag it version 2. That is called tagging. At any time we can take this version, check out and do changes. Okay, so that is called tagging. So then what is branching? Right, say this is we are working on the code, and maybe at that time we give a release to a customer A. Now, so that means we take a copy of that at this point, right? At this point we take the copy, and then you can do changes to that. So while we keep doing changes to this one, you can keep doing changes to that one also. But those changes are not applicable to this because now those are two branches. Maybe another customer want it, so you branch it. So that is copy of this is now branch. And then again you can do changes here and some changes here. These are not mixed together because now we have the main or master, customer one, customer two. Three code bases. Some developers working on this branch, some developers working on the main or master, some developers are now doing some changes to this. So at any time we can create branches. Actually, we can even create branches from branches, not only from the main. From here, we can create another branch. Okay. Or from here, we create another branch. And the other thing is we can merge changes from main master to the branches or branches to the master. For example, after now remember this customer got the snapshot from at this point, at this point. So these changes are not in this customer's code. But maybe we have implemented very important functionality. Maybe we want to give that functionality to this customer also. Then we can change that or merge that change to this customer. Okay. Or maybe we can merge that change to this customer as well. But you need to do it in a very systematic manner. Sometimes we found some critical bug in this particular customer's code and fix it. And it's a very critical bug. So we know that, so this bug is in the main node, so master also. Maybe then we need to merge that from this customer's branch to the main. And maybe we want to merge it to the other customers also. So likewise, merging can be done. Branching, merging, tagging. Okay. Right. Other thing is we can go for distributed version controlling systems. Actually, Git is a distributed version controlling system where you can keep multiple repositories. And these repositories can work as single repository. Okay. Some code is duplicated, some codes are only in one particular repository. But at any time, we can extract the full code base from these sub repositories. Okay. Right. So these are the words we use. The word repository. Repository is where your code is, but in modern version controlling systems, that repository may not be in single place, rather it's in multiple servers. Some code are duplicated. Some codes are only available in one repository, in the distributed repository. But at any time, we can consolidate those. Right. So the server is basically where the repository is. It can be one machine or multiple machines. Clients are basically uh, those who connect to the repository. Usually developers, every developer's machine is a client. And also the servers, build servers are clients, production server, QA server, because production server need to get the code from the repository. When we give a release, a QA server need to get the code from the latest code from the repository. Maybe we have tagged it, say version 2.3, which is a QA release. Then they take the version 2.3 for testing. Take that code, build it, deploy it, and QA team do the smoke test and start testing. Okay. So working copy is your local directory files. So that has uh, the code that is taken from the repository since your last update, plus any other changes you have done. So those changes are not in the repository, it's in your local machine. Okay. So those changes you need to free time to time when it is stable, check into the repository so that others can get it. And also periodically you need to check out from the repository so that your working copy is always or at most of the time latest. Okay. So your changes you need to check into the repository, and also before doing a major task, you better check out the latest code from the repository. Otherwise, you will end up with some conflicts. Okay. Right. So trunk or main is the master location for code in the repository. Okay. And head is the latest revision of the repository. If you are taking the latest code, not all the tag or something, so then we say we are taking the head. So most of the time developers will take the head. Okay. Right. So these are the technical words we use. Right. We have done these things, but we are now more serious, right? Because this is final year. We discussed about JIT, but we didn't look at these in much very serious level at that time. Maybe that is in your semester two, right? So then what are the actions you can do with the repository? Of course, you can usually as a developer, you check out the code. So that means you take the copy of the repository to start, say, this is the starting point of the uh, current sprint. This is the, say, first day morning, you will check out the code from the repository. So now you have all the developers have the same code as the repository. Now the developers are working on some functionalities, fixing issues identified in the previous builds or the bugs. New features are you are working on new user stories or some modifications. So then you will be having some modified files as well as new files. Some modified files, some code you have changed, some code you have added, and even you may have deleted some files, rare situations, because maybe you have refactored so that now that old file is not needed. Maybe that is merged to a different file, that functionality. So then you need to add those to the repository. Add. Okay. So when we say add, it can be new file or even modified file. Or maybe deleted file is also sometimes we call it add, but there add means you ask repository to delete it. Okay. Especially the add concept is when we have new files. So then you need to check in. Remember at the beginning you check out. So now your changes you need to check in new files, modified files. Okay. And periodically you need to again check out so that you have the latest because other developers also check in. Okay. Right. So then what is mean by ignore? Allow files to exist in your working copy but not in the repo. So remember when you are working with your software, say you are using IntelliJ IDE. So there can be some configuration files like project files and so on. That is only related to your development environment, right? Because other developers may be using some other ID, and also those ID related configuration files are not required for the releases like production releases. So you can mark some files to ignore. You can say to Git, don't track these files. Don't do any check-in, check-out related to these files. These are my local files. Just ignore these files. It's only in my local machine and it has nothing to do with the repository. But let those files stay in my machine. Just ignore it. Don't track those things as new files. So that we can do. That we can do even in JIT. We can configure that these files or these files with these extensions, ignore. Okay. So then what is mean by reverting? So reverting means maybe you have done some changes or you have added new code. Revert means you ask repository to throw away your working copy and restore the latest version. So that means if you have done some modifications or new files, you ask the JIT2 or JIT or whatever the version controlling system, basically ignore those. Ignore those means basically remove those things. Or just make it again the latest repository copy. So that means your changes are again overwritten by latest code from the repository. If you have added some files, those will be deleted. If you have deleted files, those will be restored. That is called reverting, right? Reverting. So that means your change, you ask the version controlling system to ignore those. Maybe now you have found that no, there are some issues with that implementation. I want to start fresh, developing that use case. So you can revert it. That means again your code base is fresh with the current latest repository, current latest. And update to sync is time to time you synchronize your code base with the latest in the repository. That you need to do periodically because some other development team members may have check-in during the last synchronization or update. So that synchronization or update will take the latest code from the repository to your local copy. But if you have done some changes, your changes will be still there. Okay, changes will be still there. Or it will warn you saying your change will be lost. So then you can decide what to do. At any time, you can uh, see the differences between your copy and that means your modifications and repository version. See, so then these are those tools are available. Then you can clearly see, okay, I have added this line, I have modified this line. Maybe just to verify things before you check in. Okay. Or at any time, maybe there's an issue. Maybe now we want to double check whether it's your change has done that or someone else change. And I already explained about branching, giving when you are giving the release to a customer. So we create a branch. So we can do some customization for that customer later on. And I already explained the merging. So you can merge changes done to the master to the branches. So some bug fixes and features implemented in branches into uh, master or to another branch. Right. As I told you, conflict means your change and the file in the repository is now conflicting. So you have done the same change to the same place. Two people have done changes. So then it says conflict. So that means that your tool cannot automatically merge it. So then you need to manually merge it. Maybe the two people who involved in this need to talk to each other because then you can get idea what is that change and what is the best way to merge it. But the idea is reduce these conflicts by frequently checking check out. But these things can happen. So in case of a conflict, if the tool cannot fix it, so we need to manually resolve it. So that is called resolving, manually fixing of the conflict changes. Here, when we say document changes, it's basically code changes for developers. Okay. Resolving. So then locking. So usually when we check out, you get the latest from the repository. But others also can get the latest. So that means both of you guys have the same code. But in some cases, you can lock the file. Lock the file. When you check out, you can say, I will check out, but lock it and check out. So then when someone else check out that file, he or she will get a warning or sometimes even error message saying this is locked. So therefore, wait for lock release. So then when you do your changes, you check in and then only lock is released. So then the other guy can take it. Or other guy can take it, but this guy knows that there is a possibility of conflicting. Okay? But sometimes the other guy will take it and do it. But when he or she check in, he or she know that there's a risk, he will do it. He or she will do it with a lot of precautions. Or in case of a conflict, uh, that guy is prepared to do manual resolution. That is why that guy took the copy, even though it is locked. Of course, while the file is locked, the others can take it, but they know that there's a possible conflict in the future. But if they are willing to handle it manually, in case that happen, because possible conflict doesn't mean that always conflict. Okay, so that is still you can check out, but without locking, because lock is already with this guy. Okay. Right. So there are so many version controlling systems. Out of these, what we are interested is JIT. That is the most popular right now. These are little bit older versions like concurrent version system, CVS, subversion, SVN. Actually, those two were the most popular before Git came. But now Git is the most popular. But some companies, projects still use these old two systems. Okay. So these are less popular, but it doesn't matter, right? If it work, uh, particular company will have policy saying, okay, we are not going to use JIT, we are using maybe something else. Okay. But JIT is right now the most popular. Okay. So in your syllabus, they are referring to JIT, not only in this semester. We refer to that even in your semester, I think 2 or 3. So therefore, you should have installed it by yourself. Okay. And remember, it's a distributed control revision controlling system. That means your repository is not necessarily in the same one machine. Maybe parts of those are in different machines. Right? So that is called distributed version controlling system. Okay. And also it cross-platform. You can use JIT in Mac, Linux, Windows, right? And also it support a lot of protocols to communicate, check in, check out, HTTP, FTP, SSH. And it can efficiently handle small to large size projects. It's good for anything, any project actually. Right. So this is the overall process. So this is the working directory of a developer. Right. So that is this the developer has checked out the latest code. And then when that guy do some changes, like modifications, new files, delete. So then we call it staging area. So it's not automatically added to the Git repository. Okay. So that means usually we add it but not push it or committed it. But once you push it or commit it, until that time it is in the staging area, and now it is push it to the repository so that other developers can take it. When they check out, they will get your changes because now you have push it. So until push it, it is called staging area. Right. So that means you have added to the your local repository, but not to the send remote repository. Once you commit only, it goes to the remote repository. Oh, other developers are taking from not your staging area, they take it from the remote repository. So therefore, adding and committing is two things. Uh, Adding will add it to the stage area. A commit will commit it to the main repositories. Right? How to install? It depends on whether you are using Linux or Windows or Mac. In Linux, it's super easy. Sudo dnf install git all. Okay? Or if it is app-based like Debian, sudo apt, you better remember these things because these are the possible questions other than theory. How to install, right? In Mac OS, of course, the examiners will not ask about how to install in Mac. Okay, or maybe they don't even ask about Windows also. If they ask, mostly they ask about how to install it in uh, Linux. But we will be using it in Windows because that is easier. Installing Windows, I hope you have already installed it in semester 2 or 3. If not, just go to this website and download and install JIT. It's just like any other software installation. Okay. Right. So we'll take a small break. After the break, we'll do a small practical session with, uh, assuming you have installed it. Okay, even you can install it. If you haven't installed it, you can even install it during the break. So then we'll do a small uh, practical session, just the basics. You can see you don't have a lot of things, just the very basic things only. That is a good news. Because you will become an expert with working with JIT in maybe within 3 months in your first uh, as your first development work as associate engineer or trainee or whatever. Right, within 1 month you will be a sort of expert with working with JITs. Okay, it's because it's part and parcel of software developers' life, right? Working with these repositories because that is how software development is done in commercial setup. And so after the break, assuming you have the JIT installed, we'll discuss. Actually, we have done this in semester 2 or 3 under web development, but we'll do a quick revision. Okay, right. So now it's 7:50. We'll start at 8:10. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. Right, so let's do this as a small practical session. How to assume that you have already installed Git, okay? How to initialize the Git. These things anyway we have done it in your web development subject as well. How to add a file, how to commit it. Okay, that is add file means you put it into the staging area. When you commit it only, you put it into the repository. You can check the log, you can check the status. Then even you can create branches and check out a particular branch, or you can just check out the master. Okay, that is master is the main branch. When of course merging changes from master to another branch or branch to a master and so on, right? So just simple things, right? Right. So let's do it as because usually we need to do it as two sessions. That is how you can get it. And ideally, we must have a server, which is another machine, right? So if you want to do this in a very ideal real world situation, you need three machines. Machine A, developer A. Okay, so let me explain it. This is how it's happening in real world. You have machine A, and that is developer A is working on that. Machine B, developer B is working on, and your repository. So basically, these things must be interconnected in a network. So then this guy can check in, this guy can check in, and these check-ins, this guy can check out, and so on. And of course, you can have any number of developers. They all are part of the development team, but they all must be connected to this repository. Okay. But to simulate, what I am going to do is I am going to create two windows or PowerShells. And those two PowerShells are going to work as two machines, simulating two machines. And repository will be in, say, this PowerShell will work on one folder. This PowerShell will work on another folder of the same my machine. And this machine will take copy of this. So sorry, this folder will this PowerShell will consider copy this folder as a repository. So basically, your repository will be here, and this will be copied to this folder. And then these changes we must be able to push it into this one. And these changes we must be able to push it into this one because this will be the repository because we don't have a separate machine, right? Right. I have already created two folders under code, uh, 26 semester 6. Right. I will delete these folders. And so I'm going to create two folders, and those two folders are the two users because they will work in two different windows, command lines, okay, or PowerShells. I will call it one, the other one I will call it two. So there are plenty of tutorials, YouTube videos you can further understand, but I'm just giving you the very basic things. Okay. Right. So this is my one, this is my two. So then I'm going to take my two PowerShells, okay, PowerShells, or you can use command lines. PowerShell is much more convenient because you can even support a lot of Linux commands. Right. So that PowerShell I will be working in one. I will go to D. Then I will go into this folder, okay? One folder, CD, right? So that is my first PowerShell that is working on folder called one. Now I will be taking another PowerShell that will be my second user, okay? Anyway, we did this exercise, I think, in semester for web development, okay? Yeah, we did this. Again, I'll go to D drive, CD, uh, because I'm going to take a copy of this one folder into the two folder. I will CD into not to the two folder because otherwise it will create another folder inside that. Right. So therefore, I will just stay in the uh, this root folder. Okay. So that I can copy it to the folder called two. But that we will be doing later. First, we will be working with the folder, this PowerShell. Right. So not this one. Uh, this particular PowerShell. That means we are working with folder called one. Okay. So the first thing is still I have already installed Git. Okay. You can double check Git minus minus version. And it says version 2.54 because I installed it today itself. This should be the latest version because I installed it before your class. Okay. Before your class. Uh, right. So now, first of all, you need this folder is not a Git repository. So first you need to initialize this as a Git folder. How to do that? You just type git init, git init. So you can see initializing empty Git repository. Now my folder one called one is a Git repository. Uh, how do you know it? Still you can't see anything, but actually there's a hidden folder inside this which you can't see. Okay. Uh, those are by default hidden folders. Maybe if you enable hidden folders, there should be a way to do that. View hidden folders. Hidden items. Now you can see. I just enable hidden view hidden items. So now you can see there's a folder called Git. So that confirms that uh, we have initialized. For example, if I go to the folder called two, there's no such. Okay, because still we haven't done anything with folder two. Right. So this PowerShell is working with one. Now we have initialized it as a Git enable folder. Right. All these things are in this note that I gave you the PDF right now. By the way, we'll go through that one also. Uh, but make sure you use our node plus UCSC node because our node doesn't have everything that UCSC node having. Right. So therefore, these are supplementary node to your UCSC nodes. Okay. Right. So this is how you install it in Ubuntu, and for Windows, just you can install by download and click on it. And this is how you double check whether it's properly installed. Right. So then you can uh, so you can set up your use account. Use account. Good news is for different command windows, I can set up different use accounts as well. Right. So if you set it for uh, global, that means it's a global user. That is for the entire for your machine. But because we are going to use two command lines for two users, I will say not. I will not use a hyphen hyphen global. Okay. I'll just say git config username, and optionally you can set your email address as well. And for the first one, I will set. Right. git config. I'm in the one folder in my first PowerShell. Config user dot name. Let's say uh, user one and user one. So at any time you can check what is your current user. You just type git config user dot name. So that will show you what is your current user and it's user one. Okay, so similarly for the other one, I will set it to the user two, that is later. Okay, but these things usually happen in different machines, okay, different developers. Right, so now we have set up, we have init it, and I have created a for use also. At any time, you can use git status to check whether you have any stage files, any files for adding, deletion, and so on. And it says on branch master, no commits yet. So because we have not done any, we have not deleted any, we haven't added any file, we haven't modified any file because this is fresh copy. Okay, fresh copy. Right. So now what we can do is we'll do this as a sort of a exercise. Okay. Uh, that is the best thing to do. Right. We'll do this small exercise. Okay. So first we will create a we have already created a file folder called one. I have created a user called user one, not Aurora. Uh, then we have already created the Git repository. Then we will add a file and we'll add it to the staging level and then check it. Right. So that is what we are going to do first. Right. So we have already done the created the folder. We have already initialized the repository. That means my folder called one is a Git repository now. And I have configured the user. In my case, I call it user one. Now let's add it. So this is how you add a new file in a command line with a text, but we will add it manually because we can add it manually, right? Uh, so here I will add a file, or you can use that command. I'll call it foo.txt, foo.txt, and then I will add a text also. I'll just call it 123 and save it. Now, if I look at the Git status for this window, Git, now if I type dir, sorry, dir, now we can see there's a file called foo.txt. Now you can see this is pretty much like Linux. That is the advantage of using PowerShell rather than DOS command, DOS prompt. Okay. Now if I type git status, now it says there's a untracked file. This is not tracked. Right? This is not tracked. This is untracked file. That means uh, this is not something the Git keep track of because we have not asked Git to do that. Okay. And it says nothing added to commit, but untracked file present. Use git tag to track what. So if you want to track it, git says you need to add it using git tag command. Okay, let's add it. Say git add which file? foo.txt. So then it is not added to the repository. Our repository is also inside. Actually, our repository is this folder. This this folder. You can see there are some files. But in reality, the repository will be in a different machine. But this is, I'm just simulating. Okay. So therefore, my repository is here. That is why I did git init in this folder. So this is not the repository. Repository is this folder. Okay, but in reality, repository will be in a different machine. That is your build machine, right? So now I have what I'm going to say is ask JIT to track it or put. That means I'm asking JIT to keep it in the staging area. Okay, JIT add. Now if I type JIT status, now it says there's a new file. It's no longer red file or uh, untracked file. It's track file, right? Track file. That is why it says there's a new file. Okay, but no commits or nothing. Okay, so these things changes to be committed. So that now JIT says there's a change to be committed because this is still in the staging file, staging area, right? But no untracked file because now you have added to the JIT. This is not added to the repository, added to the JIT staging area. Okay, staging area. Right. So now our task is because still this is in the staging area. Now we can uh, commit it. Commit it. Right. So how to commit it? You can commit file by file, or you can say all the files in the staging area. Let's commit it git commit. Then you can go message. Remember, when you check in something, you need to give a message or comment saying that is how you can check the history and see things. Okay, so then you can say I will say version 1, but it should not be version 1, right? It must be some valid text like initial file or whatever. Right. So now it says it has been added committed to the master by default master unless you have created a tag or something. Okay. Now if I type git status, it say nothing because it's your local files are 100% sync with the repository. Okay. If you add another file, it will say yes, there's a change. New file. If you do a modification, it will say there's a modification. Okay. For example, let's do a modification. I will add four, five, six. Save. Now if I type git status, still we are only working with one. Only one user is still using this. Git status. Now it says there's a modified file because since last commit, we have done changes. Okay. Now it says use git add or git commit. You can use either git add, then staging area, and then commit, or you can straight away git commit. Okay. So let's git add it and do it. Git. Again, I'm adding it to the staging area. Git add foo.txt. Now if I type git status, now it says, yes, there's a file which is added to the staging but not yet committed. Right. So at any time you can restore. Restore means you ignore that change. Take it back to the original. Or you can commit it. So let's commit it. Right. I will call it version 2. So now if I type git status, nothing. So that means my second change is also added to the repository. Added to the repository. Right. So now what we are going to do is, of course, if you want, you can add another file so that you have set of files. Okay. Right. So now let's get back to our second folder. We are going to take a copy of this repository. Actually, the repository is here, but these files are cryptic files. Okay. Now we are going to take a copy of this to the, okay, let's create another file so that we have two files, say bar.txt. Let's have ABC there, save it. Let's add that also. Git add bar.txt, that is put it into staging. And now let's commit also. So if I type git status now, it will say only the bar file because other file is sync. Let's do the commit now. I'll say version 1 bar. Let's say bar version 1. So now if I type git status, it's sync. Now repository has two files, foo text, bar text. Now let's take copy of this. Take a copy of this, okay? Right, how to do that? Uh, First of all, actually this note I need to do small changes, okay? Uh, because they change the Git also time to time. The way we work with Git and the command sequence, they keep changing, right? Because now I have the latest Git, okay? Right, so then there is that part. Because I was working on your note, but I couldn't finish it, okay, in the afternoon. Right, so then you need to right, modify, edit. We have done this. Committed, done. Right, so in order to let this put others to pull it or make it available for other users, you need to uh, run this particular command. So then only others can uh, pull it. So pushing means you put it into the repository. Pulling means others take in the repository. By default, it is not available for others. But once you execute this particular command, I will put it into your node. Okay. Because this is the new approach. Earlier, there was a different command. That is why I was working on changing your node. Okay. Uh, Anyway, those things they have not asked. They have only asked about adding, committing, and so on, right? But there are some additional things so that you can do it practically. Right? I will execute this command because it is the one user one that created this. Okay, git config receive deny current branch update instead. Okay, right. So now I can go to the other command window and check out that version. Right, check out that version. How to do that? You can type git clone. Okay, let me do that. This is getting a copy of that one folder because otherwise, of course, it must be a network file, network other for IP address and blah 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 of that machine. In reality, it will be like that, but because it's the same machine, now I am in the second one, but I am not in the folder two. Remember, there's a folder called tooth. To that I am going to do this, but I am in the parent folder because still that folder called 2 is not a JIT folder. It's not a Git folder. Okay. So now we are going to take a copy of one folder into the two folder and make that a Git folder for the second user. But ideally it will be a separate machine. Clone, Git clone, decode bit 261 to the folder called 2. So this is relative because I am in the parent of 2. Otherwise you need to give this also full path. But because I am using relative because 2 is a folder in uh, subfolder here. And I have already created folder called 2 which is empty folder. So currently the folder called 2 has nothing because it's just I created the folder. Okay. And now we are going to copy that one folder into two folder as another local repository. It says cloning into 2 done. Now let's go and see the 2 folder. You can see that now the 2 folder has these 2 files because but this really happens in a different machine. Okay. Different machine. But again, if you look at this, uh, right, it has the code as well. Okay. By and foo. This is having 2 lines. Okay. Right. So now let's see, this guy has done further changes. Further changes, maybe add another file. Remember now this second one has only foo and bar. Let's say we have added another file to the one folder that is working with this particular command prompt. Okay, let's say foo bar and another file. I'll call it other.txt. Other.txt. So then I will add that, git add other.txt. Now if I type git status, it should be in the staging now. Yes, now I can commit. Commit කරද්දී ඔක්කොම ටික commit කරන්න කියලා කියන්නේ. I'll say other version 1. Okay. Now if I type git status, uh, nothing, so it has been committed. But now still the second folder doesn't have this. It's 2 folder doesn't have it because we took it, clone it before the change, before adding that file. Okay. Right. So now what we need to do is, මේ ටික තමයි පොඩ්ඩක් tricky හරිය. Uh, there's something called pull and push. Pull and push. Uh, so let's see whether we can push. Right. We can push it from the first one. Right. Right. So we have done the cloning. Everything done. Now I can go to the second folder. CD second. Sorry, 2, 1 and 2. 2. It must be already a repository. Right. Now you can put them in git status කියලා. එයා කියන nothing to commit කියලා. මොකද මගේ මේ පැත්තේ මොකුත් change එකක් නැහැ නේ. මේ පැත්තේ repository change එකක් කරලා තියෙනවා. නමුත් මේ පැත්තේ change එකක් කරලා නැහැ. හරි අපි මෙයාගේ git user කෙනෙක් අපි මෙයාට set කරලා නැහැ තාම. හරි. user check කරන්න කොහොමද අපි? git user.name. මෙයාට ඇත්තේ global username එකක් ඇත්තේ. මට මතකයි නාලකද කොහෙල මම ග්ලෝබල් යූසර් නේම් එකක් හැදුවා. මතක නැහැ. හරි. යූසර් නේම් එකක් තාම සෙට් කරලා නැහැ. Git username is not a Git command. Why is that? Right. Git config username, right? Git config, not Git. Git config user.name. Config බලන්න username එකක් තියෙනවද කියලා. නාලක කියන්නේ මම global user කෙනෙක්ව හදලා හැදුවා කලින් මේ command එක ගහලා ඒකයි global user ඉන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ යා machine එකට common. හරි මම මේ විදිහට type කරලා install කරපු වෙලාවේ හැදුවා. නමුත් දැන් මට global user නෙමෙයි use කරන්න ඕනේ වෙන user කෙනෙක්. user 1 user 2 කියලා. So that we can set it like this. Git config user.name. Say let's say user 2. From this point onwards, the user is user 2. Not නාලක. Not නාලක. දැන් අපි බලමු අර pull කරලා ගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා. So let's see whether we can pull it. මොකද අර පැත්තේ දැන් වෙනස් කරානේ. git pull එකක් කරන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා. git pull. pull කියන්නේ repository එකේ තියෙන එක ගන්න ඕන. ඔන්න pull වුණාද බලන්න. මතකනේ අද කියන එක මම පස්සේ add කරේ. අන්න ඒක ඇවිල්ලා. You can see. So this was added later after cloning. Now you can see 2047. Just now we got it. එතකොට ඕන ආයිමත් අර පැත්තෙන් ගිහලා බලන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් මේකේ තියෙන්නේ bar food other. ආයෙ 1 එකට ගිහිල්ලා ඉවරලා ඕන නම් අපි තව එකක් දාමු. New text file. I will call it other or other one. අපි අරත් මොනවා text එකක් දාමු. අපි අර PQR කියලා. Save it. That is this one. Git status කිව්වොත් එයාගේ untracked word file එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. Yes. Now we can edit. Other one.txt. දැන් කිය staging එකේ file එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. Yes. So let's commit. Other one version 1. Commit කරා. හරි. දැන් repository එක දැම්මා. දැන් මේ පැත්තේ තාම නැහැ හැබැයි. If you now we have this in the repository but not in two file because we have not pull it. pull කරාට පස්සේ මෙතනට එන්න ඕන ඒ අලුත් file එක other one කියන file එක. ඒක කරන්න ඕන කවුද? අනිත් command එක. ඒක ඔන්න තියෙද්දිම කරන්න එතකොට පේනවා. Let's pull it. Git pull. You can see other one. So that is how it works. So developer one push it, commit it. Developer 2 can pull it because developer 2 has cloned the one folder. Clone කරලා තියෙන එක. ඇත්තට මේක තමයි master එක. මේ තියෙන්නේ master එක. මොකද අපි මේකේ branches හැදුවේ එහෙම නැහැ. So that is how it is done. දැන් අපි මේ පැත්තෙන් push කරන්න පුළුවන් බලමු. මේ පැත්තෙන් file එකක් හදමු. Let's call it other2.txt. දැන් මේක හදන්නේ මේ අනිත් user. මෙයා. So if I type git status git status there's an untracked file. අපි ආව add කරමු git add other2.txt. Now it will be in staging file. Right. So let's commit git commit -m. Git commit -m. other two version 1. So now if I type git status, nothing. Right. අද අපි බලමු අර පැත්තෙන් pull කරගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා මෙයාව. කොහොමද pull කරන්නේ? git pull. හැබැයි මම මේක කරන්න ඕනේ අනිත් පැත්තේ. මොකද අනිත් පැත්තේ other two file එක නැහැ. In one folder, other two file is not there because it is push committed by the second user two from the two folder. Now let's see whether we can pull it. Right. Git pull, okay, but it's going to be done by the user one. User one, okay, git pull, and see whether we get the other two file which is committed by user two from the two folder. Git pull එක වැඩ කරේ නැහැ. There's no tracking information for the current branch. Why is that? Yes, you can directly commit without adding. You can combine the two commands using AND. Using AND. And I think there's a combine command also. That's a good question. You can double check actually it's mentioned. You can one thing is you can combine these two, but there should be a combine command also. Okay. So this is how you combine. Like this, right? Add, then and git commit. But let's just see whether there's a combine command also. Okay. I may better I pull in it. There's no tracking information for the current branch. So we have ChatGPT the which remote branch it should pull from. The repo was initialized manually. Yes, we manually initialized. So remote tracking was never configured. Pass first check remotes. Add a remote. අපි දැන් 2 fold එක ඇඩ් කරන්න ඕන රිමෝට් විදියට. අපි මේවා බලමු. මොකද මෙයා තාම දන්නේ නැහැ මෙයාගේ රිමෝට් එක අරේ ඉන්නවා කියලා. බලමු රිමෝට් එකක් තියෙනවද කියලා. හරි එයා කියන රිමෝට් එකක් නැහැ නේ. දැන් 1 ගේ රිමෝට් එකක් 1 ගේ ක්ලෝන් එකක් නේ 2 ගේ තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි තාම 1 දන්නේ නැහැ 2 ගාව තමන්ගේ ක්ලෝන් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒතර මෙයාට කියන්න ඕනේ ඔයාගේ රිමෝට් එක තමයි 2 කියලා. හරි ඒක තමයි කියන්නේ. මේ ෆෝල්ඩර්ත් එක්කම දැන් මගේ chat GPT දන්නවා මගේ ෆෝල්ඩර්ස් ගැනත් හරි chat GPT මගේ මැෂින් එක ඔක්කොම විස්තර ටික හොයාගෙන දන්නවා දැන්. දැන් මෙයාට කියමු ඔයාගේ රිමෝට් එක මෙතන තියෙනවා කියලා. මම දන්නේ මේක වැඩ කරයිද කියලා එකපාර decode right. දැන් බලමු full තාම මෙතන එතකොට මේ ෆයිල් එක නෑ. other two කියන එක තාම නෑ. දැන් අපි pull කරලා බලමු. pull තාම ආවේ නෑ other two එක නේ. Still, why is that? තාම මොනවද කරන්න ඕනද? මේකත් කරන්න කියනවානේ. git branch set upset blah 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 blah. So then do the pulling. git pull origin master කියලා ගන්නත් පුළුවන්. මේ විදිහට කරන්න පුළුවන්ද බලන්න. one command. අපි ඉස්සර මෙහෙම කරලා බලමු. මේක සෙට් කරලා බලමු. මෙයා තාම අර පැත්තෙන් එන්නේ නැහැ. Okay. Right. So still we should not get the file. තාම other two එනවා. දැන් pull කරලා බලමු. Now let's pull it, okay? Git pull. See whether it work. Let's get the folder also. Other two කියන එක අර පැත්තෙන් දාපු එක තාම ආවේ නැහැ. Now let's see git pull work. අන්න දැන් ආවා. දැක්කා. So now you can see. So now we got the file check in by user 2. Now we can do it in both way now. Whatever the changes done by user 1 goes to the user 2 when user 2 pull it. If user 1 has committed, and whatever user 2 has committed, user 1 can pull it. Okay. ඒක modification වලටත් වෙන්න ඕන. Okay, for example, now this other two file has, let's edit it. PQR නේද? ඒක මුකුත් දාලා තියුන්නේ නැහැ අපි වෙලාවේ. හරි. අපි වෙන ෆයිල් එකක් ගමු. හරි. අපි මේකට අපි දාමු XYZ කියලා. Now that is a modification. That is a modification. Okay. Other two file. But from user 2's point of view, it is a blank file. හරි. user 2ට ගියොත් එහෙම මෙතන තියෙන්නේ මෙයා blank file එකක් විදියට. මොකද එයා blank file එකනේ add කරේ. Right, blank file. But now the user one did a change. දැන් මෙයා blank file එකක්. හරි අර පැත්තේ තියෙනවා. මම දැන් එයාව commit කරනවා. From this one. So if I type git status, then එයා කියයි change වෙලා තියෙනවා. Okay. So we need to add it. Okay. add එහෙම නැත්නම් එකපාර commit කරන්න පුළුවන් මම හිතන්නේ. හරි. and o කියලා තියෙන්නේ නේද? git commit කියලා -a කියලා. අපි කෙලිම commit කරනද git commit -a කියලා. මම git commit -a එකම එකපාර commit වෙනවා. commit -a අපි message එකකුද -m change මම හිතන්නේ commit වුණා. ඒ කියන්නේ add වෙලා එකපාර commit වුණා. හරි මම add එක වෙනම කරේ නෑ. right. දැන් අපි බලන්න ඕන. දැන් මේක අපි කරේ one පැත්තේනේ. තාම මෙයාගේ මුකුත් නැහැ. So still this one must be blank. Right? But other guy has done some changes and committed. Now let's see whether we can pull it. Pull කරාම දැන් අලුත් ෆයිල් එකක් එන්නේ නැහැ. මේ ෆයිල් එකේ අර line එක තියෙනවා. So let's pull it again. හරි. දැන් බලමු මෙයාගේ modification එක තියෙනවද කියලා. Yes, it has. Now we can see we can do it in both ways. We can do changes in one and user one and go to the user two, and do some changes to user two and take it to the user one. So likewise, so the next thing is see whether you can delete a file and commit it so that from the other repository also when you pull it, that must be deleted. That must be deleted. So that is සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ඉවරයි. හරි. අපි ඕන කළ බලමු. අපි මේ පැත්තෙන් මකමු දැන් 2 පැත්තෙන් other 2 කියන එක කෙනා. හරි මොකක්ද මැක්වා. ඒතර other 1 කියන පැත්තේ දාම ඔය other 2 කෙනා ඉන්නවා. හරි. මොකද එයා දන්නේ නැහැ නේ දාම. 1 පැත්තේ 2 පැත්තේ තමයි මැකුවේ. අපි දැන් 2 පැත්තෙන් කියලා බලමු git status ගහලා බලමු. git status. එයා කියන ෆයිල් එකක් මකලා තියෙනවා. හැබැයි ඒක commit වෙලා නැහැ. අපි ආව commit කරමු. එකපාර commit කරමු. ඔන්න add and commit දෙකම එකපාරට වෙනවා මෙතනින්. git commit -a. other 2 deleted. Okay. මොකද your branch is up to date blah blah blah. ආයා කියන්නේ මේක add remove එක ගහලා එන්න ඕන. හරි අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලා එන add remove කරලා. දැන් මේක remove එකක් ඇත්තටම add එකක් නෙමෙයි. git rm other two. Okay? git rm other two. अब मैं करंट 2 पैते git rm other two dot txt. Now let's see the git status. right, deleted. හරි. Then staging එකේ තියෙන්නේ. Either you can restore so that you can unstage or you can now commit. Then commit කරනවා. Okay. Other two delete. මේ කරන්නේ two පැත්තේ ෆයිල් එක මැනුවලි මකලා තියෙන දැන් තමයි මැකුවේ ඇත්තටම. දැන් කොහොමද අපි ෆිසිකලි මකලා තියෙන්නේ? හැබැයි තාම one පැත්ත දන්නේ නැහැ මේ කතන්දරේ. other two එක මකලා කියලා. දැන් අපි මේක ආයි පුල් කරමු. එතකොට මේ other two එක මැකෙන්න ඕන හරිනම්. මොකද දැන් රිපොසිටරි මැකුවනේ දැන්. අනිත් යූසර් එතකොට මේ පැත්තේ රිපොසිටරි එක මැකෙන්න ඕන. Right, so now let's get back to one. දැන් අපි ආය යන්නේ one පැත්තට. two පැත්තෙන් මකලා ඉවරලා රිපොසිටරි එකට කිව්වා මැකුවා කියලා. දැන් අපි one පැත්තට ගිහිල්ලා බලමු. Still other two file is there because one has not no, updated the repository local version. Now let's say again pull it and see whether other two file is getting deleted. මොකද repository එක delete කළා නම් මෙයා දැන් pull කරාම මෙතනින් මකන්න ඕන හරියට. Right, you can see this file is deleted. Right, so that is how it is done. Okay, so now user 2 deleted it and committed. So then when I pull the user 1 pull it, user 1 had the other two file, it is deleted because other user 2 has deleted and committed. Right, so those are the changes. Right? You can add, modify, delete, and those changes are going to the other users having the same repository clone. Right, now you can see how why it is called distributed. These copies can be synchronized. Okay, this is just two copies. Actually, you can have any number of copies, but all these copies communicate with each other if they are in the network. Okay, right. Any questions? Right. So then you must git log will show you the log also, but it will be fairly detailed. Right, so what are the changes you have done? Right, you can see there you can see your comments. Okay, you can see which user did this, right, with email address because I have set up the email address also. You see other two deleted, change. These are the comments I made, and all these things are available. Okay. Log. Right, so then if you want to ignore certain files, that means ask Git to ignore it. So you can create a file called .gitignore. .gitignore, just create a file with only extension, no name, and then you can type which files you want to exclude, like star.exe and so on. So then if you have exe file in your folder, which is not in the repository, then when you say git status, basically your git will ignore it. It is not considered as something you need to edit because these are mentioned in your, either you can give the full name like abcexe or all the exe files likewise. Okay, right, do that as exercise. Okay, right, so removing files we discuss. So remember, then you need to say git remove rm, git rm. Okay, git rm and commit. When you edit, git add and commit. Here git rm and commit. Physically delete and then delete it from the stage and then commit. Right, so this one we did, but I did it slightly different way. I will update this note. Okay, right, so then I already explained you branching. Branching is done for different customers and so on, or any other localization, customization. So this is how you create branches. Git branch, branch name. So then copy of the master will be created in your repository and it is given this particular branch name. So then when you just say usually when we say checkout, it checkout from the master. But now you can say git checkout and your branch name. So then you are getting that code of the branch to your local folder. Okay. And then you can check in your changes to the branch rather than master. Okay. Right. But by default, when you check out, what you check out is the master. Because that is the default. Okay. At any time, you can switch from master to any other branch, branch to another branch, and so on. Okay. So then, of course, you can merge changes in master into branches, branch into master, and so on. But those are not mentioned in your UCSC note, like merging and those things. Those are a little bit advanced things. Uh, so just adding, removing, pulling, initializing repository, working, creating users. So I think those are enough for you for the exam point of view. But if you are really interested in these things for your career, so learn these things, do some self-learning about how to create a tag, how to check out a how to create a branch, how to check out a branch, how to do a merging from one branch to the master or master to the branch and so on. But those are for your practical exposure rather than more than for your exam. Okay. Okay. Then you can create tags. Tags are not branches. Tag is just a given a name to a snapshot. Snapshot. It's not creating a copy of that. Okay. Then you can say git tag and so on. Then at any time you can check out that tag. That means you check out the code. Say you tag it about 1 year ago. So you can when you check out that tag, you get that 1 year ago code base. Okay. Uh, and so on. Okay. Right. So they have asked very basic things like how to initialize. Okay. How to add commit. So that kind of simple questions and how to uh, create the branch and check out the branch. Very basic things. Okay. So, but try to do these things also as a practical thing. But I gave you a uh, good starting point. Okay. Good starting point. Right. So that is JIT part. That is JIT part. So then we have uh, that is continuous integration. So now let's move on to right. So these things we have covered. Okay. That is continuous integration part. Now we'll get back to the continuous deployment. Okay. Continuous deployment, CD. So there are in your syllabus, only one tool is mentioned, that is Jenkins. Okay, Jenkins. Uh, so first of all, you need to download and install it. Okay. So it's open source continuous integration building software. Right. So therefore it's building integration and building actually, but it's more building because integration is mostly done by something like JIT. Like here we can create pipelines, sequence of tasks, right? Take in the copy from JIT, maybe run in the build. If the build is success, create the WAR file and deploy it to the say server, say your application server. That kind of things we can automate. Okay, and we can program it using Java. Jenkins is a Java-based tool. Okay, and there are some plugins in Jenkins so that it can take data from JIT, deploy it to a web server, application server, and so on. So those things you need to separately install plugins because different software development projects have worked with different. Maybe one project work with JIT, Another one is working with Subversion. So then you need to integrate with correct plugin. Maybe one project is using Apache Tomcat. Another project is using a Red Hat server. So then you need to integrate the correct plugin to your Jenkins, so that you get it from Git and build, and then of course the Maven. Maybe your build system is Maven or your build system is Ant. Okay. So then maybe Git, Maven, take the code base, then build it using Maven, and then deploy it to the maybe Red Hat JBoss. So then you need three plugins: Git plugin, Maven plugin, JBoss plugin. Okay. Maybe another plugin to deploy it to a production server. Okay. So this is very complicated process. So therefore, we only learn with the very basics only. Okay. Right. So the first thing is you need to, you can see source code changes will be committed by developers. That is using Git or something. So CI server will pull that code and trigger a build. Right. So then the Jenkins can do those different tasks. Jenkins can streamline it. That is called pipe of tasks. Then maybe unit testing is run. Okay. Deployment file is created and so on. Right. So how to set up Jenkins? I have explained it in the other note. This note. Uh, it's open source version, so it's freely available. Right. First install. Actually, I today I installed Jenkins. I found that for the latest Jenkins, uh, right, you need JDK. Actually, this is outdated now. Yes, it says JDK level no higher, but I will tell you the exact JDK version you need. Uh, Actually, I just double check with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT told that for the latest Jenkins, you need this range of JDKs. So therefore, I install that JDK also. Actually, not install, I just unzip it because I already have another JDK. I don't want to mix those things. So therefore, best thing is I will show you which JDK is required for the latest. I also downloaded the wrong JDK, and then I got an error. Then I put that error message to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT told that okay, for your current latest Jenkins, you need JDK from this version to this version. Okay. Uh, right. So you need JDK 25 will work if if you download and install the latest Jenkins. Okay. There's a range actually, but I just took JDK 25 from that range. Okay. Right. So the first thing is if you are using the latest Jenkins, uh, of course, when you install Jenkins, it doesn't ask JDK, but when you run it, it will ask. Okay. But the best thing is you first download JDK 25. Okay. So you can say Java download or JDK download. It's very important that you do it in a practical manner because then things will be easily remembered. And JDK download. This is your last practical session. Okay. And you can see Java 26, 25, 21. So just 26, it doesn't support because I had installed 26 and I got error saying 26 is not supported. It's too early, too new. So go to JDK 25 because I'm using Windows, and make sure you download archive file, zip file. That is the best thing because if you have any other JDK install, then you don't need to worry at all, right? Or if you don't have any other JDK, you can just install as well. But because I have the latest JDK also installed, I just downloaded because this is not the latest, compress file, zip file. I'll just show you tell you the steps I followed. I just downloaded the zip file and unzipped, right? Unzip into, you can unzip it to any folder. I just created a folder called soft. I already have a folder called software where I keep software, not installations. Then I created a folder called JDK25 and copied the zip file, and then I unzip it to the current folder. So then it created these folders. Then of course, if you want, you can delete the zip file also. Uh, right. So this is the folder structure. Okay. So that is the step number one. Okay. So the step number two is install Jenkins. Now this is just unzip it. Okay. I have not done anything. Just unzip it because later I will be using it. Right. So that is something you need. If you are using the latest Jenkins within this month, make sure it's JDK 25. Actually, there's a range, but 26 is not supported. I think 25, 24, and 23, only these three supports. Uh, right. So now just unzip it, nothing else. Okay, nothing else. Now you can download and install Jenkins. How to do that? I have explained it in the note. Okay. Uh, this is for Ubuntu. Go to this. Okay, go to this link, and it's just a WAR file. Just you need to download a WAR file. Web archive files. Java web archive file. What is this? Right. So you just need to download this WAR file. Okay. Latest Jenkins WAR file. Okay. Just download this. When you click on it, will download the WAR file. Okay. So that you should be able to do. I have already downloaded it. Okay. Everything is mentioned, explained here. Download the Jenkins WAR file. Okay. Then just put it into a folder. In my case, I have put it into a folder called, anyway, I will do it from fresh. I have started Jenkins. Now I will close this window, two windows. Right. So I have already done this, but I am going to do it in a fresh manner. Right. So that you can see it. Right. So I already have it here, but I will delete and again do it. Okay. In my case, I created a folder called Jenkins under software again. So in my case, I have a folder called software. There I created a folder called Jenkins, and then I copied the downloaded WAR file here. Okay, so that I downloaded from the URL. Then you need to take a command line or PowerShell. Just follow these steps. Okay, PowerShell. CD to that folder. CD, in my case, software Jenkins. Okay. Now remember here you have the Jenkins WAR file. Jenkins WAR file. Uh, so if you try to run this, actually it will create a small web server also. Okay, like a Tomcat server. Now they have given you the command to run it also. You can see Java minus jar Jenkins WAR. Now, if you try to inst run it, in my case, I have not set that JDK yet because I just unzip it. And my JDK is older one. So JDK minus version because I use older JDK to support semester for enterprise application development. Okay, so not JDK, Java minus version. It's very old version, 1.8. Remember, I have downloaded the 25, right? Because 26 also I installed because I got error. I thought, okay, I will install the latest. Then it's too early. Uh, it's that version is also not supported. But if I try to run it first with your own current JDK, if you have it, just run it. That is Java minus Jenkins. Right now, of course, currently my JDK is 1.8, and I got this error. Right, I got this error saying uh, there's a version mismatch because this Jenkins war file doesn't support this old JDK, and actually it doesn't support the latest JDK also because I tried that. So now you need to set the to Java home to this particular folder where I unzip the JDK. So remember I have unzip it to here. So just copy this path, and then you don't need to go and set the path in the environment variable. That is one way, but that will mess up with your JDKs if you already have it. I'll show you how to do it in local manner. Okay. So you can type something like this. Uh, so this particular command, I will give it to your note. Okay. Uh, so that is set Java home in the command line itself. Then you don't need to do it globally. Right? $env colon Java underscore home. Then give the path of your Java JDK folder, not the bin folder. Right. So bin folder will be inside that with double quotes. So that is you set the Java home, or you can set it in the environment variable, but this is the easier thing. So then you need to add the bin folder to the path. So that is, you can do it like this. That is your current Java home slash bin is added to the path. Okay, added to the path. Right. So now you have set your Java home to JDK 25, which is just unzip, no installation. And we have added the bin folder into the path variable also. Or you can manually do it in environment variables, but then take a new command prompt or PowerShell because your current PowerShell doesn't know about that. And now you can start your Jenkins, Java minus the Jenkins var, because now we have set the JDK to 25. All right, so this Java command will use JDK 25 and run it. Now it will start small web server. It will take a bit of time. I think now it's okay. Right. So no error. Make sure no errors are there. Now you can just take a browser because it has started a web server. Right. Web server. Everything is explained here. Just type localhost 8080. 8080 means definitely it's a Tomcat server. Okay. Tomcat server. And you will get something like this. Okay, something like this. Uh, and it will ask username and password. Okay, username and password. But first time you should not get this twice because I have already installed this. Okay. Actually, you will get a slightly different window first time because I think this is cache. You will get something like this. Okay, because this is what I got first time. And there you can click on install suggested plugins. Okay. So install suggested plugins. Actually, you will get this screen because I have installed it. Maybe it's in my document or somewhere. There's a caching. Okay. You will get this screen definitely. Then click on install suggested plugin. Uh, so then it will ask you to enter the password. So that password is already here in your command line. In my case, I can't see that password because I have already installed and somewhere it is cache. You can see user Jenkins වා මම මේකත් මකලා වනම් හරි ඒ වෙලාවේ. හරි මෙන්න මේක ඇතුලේ cache වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Let me stop it and delete this folder. මෙන්න මේ folder එක ඇතුලේ කලින් පාර run කරද්දි මගේ cache වුණා. අපි ඒක මකලෙමු. Okay. එතන තමයි කලින් තියෙන්නේ. Let's close. මකලෙමු. ආයි web server එක start කරමු. මේක ඇතුලේදී ඔය ඉතින් Jenkins කියලා folder එකක් ඇතුලේ. එයා මකෝ. ඒ අර මම කලින් ඉන්ස්ටෝල් කරපු අන්දා. නැත්තම් අර ස්ක්‍රීන් එකේ ඉන්න බෑ. හරි මකන්න දෙන්නේ නැත්නම් මෙයා රන් වෙනවා. මම මේක එයා රන් වෙන එක නැවතුවා. Right. So now Jenkins එක මැකුණානේ. ඔව්. Right. So now let's run it again. හරි. අතන මම ෆෝල්ඩර් එක මැකුවා. We have already set the environment variable. I didn't close the command line. Start it again. Okay. දැන් බලන්න password එකක් එයි මෙතන. unknown. ඔයා right. Right. So this is still it is setting up the server. Right. So this is the password. Meaning please use the following password to proceed to the installation. This is the password. මේක තමයි copy paste කරලා ගහන්න ඕන. අර local host එකට ගියාම දැන් එන්නේ වෙන screen එකක්. හරි. So let's type localhost 8080. අර දැන් cache වෙලා තිබිච්ච අතන extract වෙච්ච කලින් ඒවා තිබිච්ච අතන තමයි ඔක ආවේ. Right. So just http localhost 8080. Now it asks you to unlock Jenkins, enter the password. So that password is already mentioned here. Okay. Just copy it, මේක select කරලා enter එකම සාමාන්‍ය copy වෙනවා. Then paste it here. Okay. Paste it here. And then say continue. Okay. Continue. If you want, you don't need to update. Right. Now we got this screen. You can say install suggested plugins. දැන් අපිට අවශ්‍ය plugins ටිකනේ install කරගන්න ඕනේ නේද? අපි JIT එකත් එක්කද වැඩ කරන්නේ? Tomcat එක්කද වැඩ කරන්නේ? හරි මෙයා ඉතින් default plugins ටික විතරක් install කරගන්න. අපිට පස්සේ install කරන්න පුළුවන් plugins මේක චුට්ටක් වෙලා යනවා විනාඩියක් දෙකක් විතරයි අයියා. මේනනේ and JIT වගේ plugins ටික install කරන්න. ඉතින් මේක අපිට අවශ්‍ය ටික විතරක් install කරන්නත් තියුණා. හරි. Tomcat so it's taking time because it's going to install set of plugins. Okay. It will take about 1 to 2 minutes. So actual වැඩේ කරනකොට ඔයාලට අවශ්‍ය plugin ටික select කරලා ඒක විතරයි මෙයා කරන්නේ. මම දැන් මෙතන එහෙම එකක් නෙමෙයිනේ කරේ. So if possible just do it today itself, now itself. මම මොන්න මේකේ recording එකත් upload කරන්න දැම්මම. අතෝ අඩු ගන්න හෙට උදේ පාන්දර හරි මේක කරන්න ඕනේ. දැන් මේ fresh පිට. JIT එකයි මේකයි දෙකම. එතකොට exam එකට යද්දී ඔයාලට කිසිම බයක් නැහැ. By the way, this Thursday you don't have the class. Okay. this Thursday, only for this Thursday. Okay. Uh, anyway, I'll put up a notice to the WhatsApp group. Have a class එක තියෙනවා නම් මම හෙට කියනවා අපව. බොහෝ විට හෙට Thursday class එක නැහැ because we have a long weekend. Okay. So I just cancel the weekend classes also. So now these plugins are getting installed. ඔයාලට මුකුත් කරන්න බෑ මේක install කරගත්තේ නැත්නම් හරි. ඉතින් මොන හරි error එකක් ආවොත් chat GPT එකට දාලා එයාත් එක්ක කතා කරලා මේක විශ්ල කරන්න ඕනේ. ඉතින් ඔයවත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැන් finally ඉනකොට එහෙම තමයි ඉතින් හරි. ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එක කරද්දිත් එහෙම තමයි. ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එක කරද්දි බය වෙලා බෑනේ. ප්‍රශ්නයක් වුණා මේක විශ්ල ගන්න ඕන, කතා බහ කරන්න ඕන, chat GPT එක්ක YouTube එකේ වීඩියෝ එකක් බලන්න ඕන. So never say right, never accept defeat. දැන් මමත් JD ගේ latest පරණ එකත් එක්ක error එකක් ආවා. අලුත් එක දැන් මම ඒ පාරේ ඒක අලුත් වැඩි කිව්වා. මේක ඉන්ස්ටෝල් කරන්න ගිහිල්ලා දැන් මම ටක් ගාලා දැන් දෙවෙනි පාර අර ස්ක්‍රීන් එකේ නැතුණා මම ගිහිල්ලා බැලුවා නේද ඔය හරි කෑෂ් වෙලාද කියලා නේද ඒ පැක් එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් එක. ඒතර JD එකක මම ඉන්ස්ටෝල් නොකරේ ඕවා කන්ෆ්ලික්ට් වෙනවා නැත්තම් සමහරවිට JD එකේ දෙක තුනක් තියෙනකොට අන්තිමට අපිම දන්නේ නැහැ මොන JD එකේ කවුද ඒක හොඳ වැඩේ තමයි මම ලෝකලයිස් කරලා ඒ වෙලාවට ඒ JD එකත් එක්ක වැඩ කරනවා. මොකද ඕගොල්ලෝ නම් ෆයිනලි මට සෙමෙස්ටර් 1 එක වැඩ කරන්නේ ලේටස්ට් JD එක. මොකද ස්ටුඩන්ට්ලා අපි කියන්නේ අලුත්ම එක ඉන්ස්ටෝල් කරගන්න කියලා. සෙමෙස්ටර් 4 එකත් එක්ක වැඩ කරන්නේ අර හද්ද පරණ 1.8 එකත් එක්ක. දැන් ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ මේ ජෙන්කින්ස් දානකොට එයා කියනවා මට වේ version එකම ඕන කියලා. ඉතින් JDK 3ක් එක බෑනේ. ඒක මම අන්සිප් කරලා දෙන්න. Today what we do is just a starting point. Okay. Right. So now it asks you to create a new admin user. මොකද අපි default password එක ගන්න ආවේ. Okay. I'll just create a new user now. I'll call it Nalaka. Password also Nalaka. ඒක පස්සේ හදන්නත් පුළුවන් ඕන. Save and continue, skip and continue as admin අපි. skip and continue as admin යමු. හරි. ඒතර අර password එක බෑවා කොහේ හරි copy paste කරලා තියාගන්න ඕන. right. so එයා කියනවා Jenkins URL එක මෙන්න මේකලු 8080 ඒක තමයි අපි දැන්ටමත් ගියුවේ හරි. right. save and finish. Save and finish. You have skipped the admin user. Okay. To log in admin and the administration password, you reset across the setup wizard. Okay. Say start using Jenkins. Right. So you will get this kind of a thing, or you can create a user and log in using that username password. Right. Right. So we'll create just one task here. So there's a option called new item. ඒක මේක කියලා දිනවා මම. Right. New item. Okay. So just create a Click on that. And here you can select freestyle project and give it a name. I will call it task 1. Task 1. ඒවට එහෙම ටාස්ක් ඕන ගානක් හදන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ ටාස්ක් එකත් ඒක ටාස්ක් එකේ pipeline එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරි? But I just created a freestyle project because we are just going to do a hello world type of a thing. Right? Freestyle project. And then I will say okay. Okay, okay. So I have created a task. Now you can create different type of tasks. Okay. Uh, Here you can see there's a build step and post build actions. Okay, build step, environment, triggers, right? මේකත් තියාරිය ටික schedule jobs වගේ Linux වල. Okay, අපි system administration වලට කරේ. ඒකේ අපි ගමු මෙතන build step එකක් විදිහට කරමු. හරි? ඒක ඔක්කොම explain කරලා දෙනවාට. Okay. New build step. Then we will say execute Windows batch command. This is hello world type of example. New build step. Then there's a drop down. Execute Windows batch command. This is just to give you a feeling of Jenkins. Okay. Here you can write. අර අපි ලිව්වේ මතකද මේ shell scripts අන්න ඒ වගේ DOS commands මේකේ ලියන්න පුළුවන්. අපි චූටි DOS command එකක් ලියමු. fold එකක් හදන්න කියලා. හරි? fold එකක් හදන්න කියලා. So this is the command we are going to run. I'll explain the command. It's a very simple command. Right? I will show you the command in Notepad because it's too small. Right. Create a directory call under D call test. This is just to test whether our Jenkins is working. I can D වල folder එකක් හදන්න කියනවාට test කියලා. මේ DOS command. හරි මම test folder එක කලින් හදලා ඇත්තේ මම ඒක මකන්නන්න. D test. Okay. folder මකනවා. Right. So ask it to run create a folder called test. Then cd into D and to test, and inside test create a folder called temp. ඒ කියන්නේ යාට යන්න කියනවා D test වලට ගිහිල්ලා directory එකක් හදන්න කියනවා temp කියලා. මේ පද මේ /d. හරිද මම ලිව්වා. ඔය D එකට ගිහිල්ලා D test. ඒ දෙක එක line එකට ගමුවා. D එකට ගිහිල්ලා D test වලට යන්න ඕන. Right. So then create a temp folder called temp. Okay. Then අපි බලමු මේක run කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා. So this is our small task. Let's save it. Let's save it. It's not executed yet. Okay, it's just saved. Now if you go to here you have the task. There's an option called build now. Or you can go to Jenkins home folder. You can see the task 1. ඔයාගේ task එකේම හදන සැරේට මෙතන list එකක් විදිහට එනවා. Task 2 මෙම new item කියලා දැම්මම ආයෙ එනවා. Right? So you can see it's not run yet. Last success not available, last failure not available, last duration not available because we haven't run this. මේක run වුණා නම් අද test කියලා folder එකක් හැදෙලා ඒක ඇතුළේ temp කියලා folder එකක් හැදෙන්න ඕන. හරියට run වුණොත්. දැන් මේකේ මම මේ folder එකක් තිබිලා මැකුවා. Now let's execute this. මේක ඇවිල්ලා schedule job වගේ තමයි. Okay, so let's execute this. බලන්න execute කරනවා නැතන folder එකක් හැදෙනවා. So how to execute? මෙන්න මෙතන තියෙනවා maximize කරන්න. There's a run button. Okay, just run it. And it says build successful. Okay, build successful. දැන් අතන ගිහලා බලන්න folder එක හැදිලාද කියලා. Yes, you can see there's a folder called test just now created 2141 and මේක ඇතුලේ temp කියලා folder එකක් හැදලා තියෙන්න ඕන සහ මේක ඇතුලේ output එක වැටලා තියෙන්න ඕන dir එකක් අපි ගහන්න කිව්වනේ යාට dir එක ගහලා output එක දාන්නකෝ output.txt කියන ෆයිල් එකට dir කියන command එකේ output එක එතන ඉඳලා ගහන්න මේ තියෙන්නේ dir එක ගහම වෙන output එක තමයි මෙතන දාලා තියෙන්නේ හරි so that is just to check whether your Jenkins is can execute a job. Okay. මේ වගේ ජොබ් එකක් නෙමෙයි කරන්න ඔය වෙනුවට ෆයිල්ස් කොපි කරලා බිල් කරලා අනිත් ප්ලගින්ස් එක ඒ රිපොසිටරි වලින් data අරගන්න පුළුවන් වාට. ඊට පස්සේ වා ෆයිල් එක හදන මේක ගිහිල්ලා Tomcat අදාළ ෆෝල්ඩර් එකට දාන්න පුළුවන්. හරි. ඒවට වෙන වෙනම ප්ලගින්ස් මේකට කන්ෆිගර් කරගන්නවා. අර සමහර ප්ලගින්ස් දැන්ටම ඉන්ස්ටෝල් වුණා ඉන්ස්ටොලේෂන් එකේ. හරි. එච්චර දුරට ලොකු ඒවා අහන එකක් නෑ ඔයගොල්ලන්ගෙන්. But this is the starting point. This is the starting point. So then now you can start reading the rest of the stuff also. දැන් අපි මේ install කරලා edit කරගෙන ඉවරයි නේද? හරි. හරි Java file එක run කරා. Use account. So now you can do different examples. ඉතින් අස්සවල් වැඩි අහලා නැහැ. අපි තව පොඩි example එකක් ඊළඟ class එකේ කරමු. හරි එක example එකක් වගේ පොඩි pipeline එකක් හදාගන්න කොහොමද වගේ පොඩි coding වලින් උත් කරන්න පුළුවන් pipeline කරද්දී හරි ඉතින් චුට්ටක් අපිට යන්න තියෙනවා ඉස්සරහට but now we have done the starting point okay maybe how to get data from our git repository අන්න ඒ වගේ චූටි දැන ටිකක් කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා හරි ඒතර මෙතනින් එහා ටික අපි කරලා තියෙන්නේ මෙතනින් එහා ටික කරලා තියෙනවා right so now we have done this topic continuous integration ඉවර නෑ තාම ඇත්තටම තව චුට්ටක් කරන්න තියෙනවා මතකෙන්ද අපිට වෙනම ආයි පාස් පේපර්ස් කරන්න දෙයක් නෑ හරි මේක යනකොට පාස් පේපර්ස් දැන් මේවා ඉවර කරලා තියෙන්නේ so then these two topics are very small topics මේක අපිට පැය භාගයයි යන්නේ හරි ඒක උඩ ඊළඟ දවස් මේ ටික ඉවර කරාම සිලබස් එක ඉවරයි හරි එතකොට අපිට තියෙන්නේ මෙතන තියරි ටොපික් ටිකක් කරන්න තියෙනවා. මෙතන තව චුට්ටක් Android වල මට එදා අර එක්සාම්පල් එක වැඩ කරේ නෑනේ. අර මගදී හිර වුණානේ වගේ environment එක. අපි ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් ආයෙ කළා. ඒකේ පාස් පේපර්ස් ටික කරාම ඒකත් ඉවරයි. ඊළඟට e-business වල හරි e-business දැන් මැත්ස් කරපු අයට මම හැමදාම පළවෙනි එදාම කිව්වේ මැත්ස් කරන්න. හැබැයි e-business උත් කරන්න කියලා. හරි. මොකද අනිවාර්යෙන් ඔයාලට මැත්ස් වලට ගත්ත රිසල්ට් එකට වැඩිය රිසල්ට් එකක් e-business වලට ගන්න පුළුවන්. සමහර ස්ටුඩන්ට්ලා මැච් කරලා තියෙනවා සමහර පාස් වෙලා තියෙනවා මට සමහර රිසර්ච් වල හරි C+ එහෙම තියෙනවා මොකද මැත්ස් වලට ලේසියෙන් එකක් ගන්න අමාරුයි කියලා මම දන්නවා හරි හැබැයි කරපු එක වටිනවා කරපු අය හරි පාස් වුණත් නැතත් සමහර පාස් වෙලා තිබුණා මට ඒක රිසර්ච් වල හැබැයි පාස් වෙච්ච අයටත් මම කියන්නේ අනිවාර්යෙන් e-business කරන්න මොකද in the exams for GPA calculation university consider the higher result. So usually e-business is some subject where you can easily get a okay easily get a if you have that kind of mindset okay right so we'll stop at this point right මොකද e-business මේ lectures කරද්දිත් ගොඩක් ස්ටුඩන්ට්ලා මේ attend උනේ නැහැ මම හිතා recording එක කරගන්නවා ඒක නවුලක් නැහැ හැබැයි අනිවාර්යෙන් e-business කරන්න හරි ඒකට දැන් exam application deadline උත් දික් කරලා තියෙනවා right so most probably you won't be having the Thursday class but I will add an extra class to cover that. And next week, we will have both these classes, Tuesday and Thursday. Okay. Because we want to finish as quickly as possible because I think your exams are from July first week, right? Now we have only 1 month. Right. We stop at this point.